This is the Final Word Daily. Australia, South Africa, Sydney, third test, day 4. We didn't do a show yesterday because it rained all day, but Jeff Lemon and Bharat Sundaresan, we are here today, and you, Bharat, have 30 seconds to tell me about 59 sizzling overs of test match cricket.
South Africa have taken a test match to day 5 in Australia. Wow. Not that they have contributed much to it. It's been the rain, but we finally had play. Play started at 1:45 p.m. Pat Cummins declared on Usman Khawaja, leaving him stranded on 195, which meant South Africa had to bat. And then it was the same old story. Dean Elgar didn't look good. Saralevia looked good and then got out. And then wickets fell. There was a partnership between Temba Bavuma and Khaya Zondo, but you knew what that was coming. It was a collapse, and it did come, but it also saw a brilliant spell of reverse swing bowling from Pat Cummins, a masterclass on captaincy, and in the end, South Africa 6 for 149, and a whole day to bat out.
A whole day to bat out, 14 overs to get for Australia. There's the tempting idea of the follow-on that's, 120-something runs away for South Africa?
Oh yeah, 128 runs away. That's mental math. 149 for 6. 276 minus 149 is 128.
Okay, I can't do that, but, you know.
It's 27. 127, sorry.
The comments are going to be going sick at that point. Okay, you can't make mistakes on the internet. No one does that. Right. So the situation they were in, because it rained and because there were problems with the run-ups and the footmarks and they had to cut out bits of turf and all the rest of it, they didn't get on the field till 1:45. Had they got on the field earlier, Australia would have batted again and tried to make another maybe 70, 80 runs, something like that, to push the follow-on mark higher. But they had to declare with Khawaja on 195. You can't win if you're a captain who does that. Some people will be mad that happened. Other people, had they batted on, would have said this is selfish chasing of personal glory. But here's my theory, Bharat. Usman Khawaja is better off being declared on 195 because it will be more memorable. Right, like Bradman with the 99.94. If it had been 100, it's kind of less sexy because he's not just falling short. There's not the pathos. There's not the human interest story. You know, the movie scene with someone slipping off the cliff, their fingers just slipping away. You know, like start of Cliffhanger with Stallone on the wire across the. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but in that scene, you can see in the background the helicopter pilot is just laughing at something off camera, like during the most tragic, deep pathos scene of the entire film. He's just like, ha 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 ha. Anyway, the point is that people will remember the 195 more than they would have like a 202 not out. They'll remember that Khawaja got declared on, and you know that the Australian team will be able to spin some awesome kind of bullshit stories after this. Cummins will do the press conference after day 5 tomorrow, and he'll say, Usman insisted. He'll say, he came up to me and he said, Pat, I need you to do this for me. We need to get this win for Australia. It's the Great Depression. We need to cheer up this country. I'm not prepared to put myself first, you know, and he will be glorified for being selfless. And Khawaja will end up way better off because of it. He'll have material for his after-dinner speeches for the next 40 years. And happy days. You know, people will always be like, oh, what a good bloke. He agreed to get declared on 195. That's my theory. What do you think?
Yeah, I've been hearing some stuff about how that played out. Usman Khawaja last night just slipped a flyer under Pat Cummins' door saying he doesn't want to bat again. Please declare. He also threatened to quit the team WhatsApp group if Pat Cummins didn't declare and gave him a chance to make the double 100. He also said, I'll never dance again. You know, we saw that wonderful dance yesterday. He said, I'll never dance again. And basically, he also said that if you do not declare and Australia have to bat on, I won't even go out there. I won't go out there. I just made all
total bullshit, right?
I just made all that up. But there you go, Usman. If you are watching, when you do finally retire and you have your after-dinner speeches, you can use all of this. Come on, it's all good material. Yeah,
it sounds great, right? It's very good for business, I would say. So they go out there and they bowl because they know they have 157 overs. They'll lose 2 for a change of innings. They had 59 overs today, up to 98 on day 5, and they need to bowl South Africa out twice. And they need to get them out short of the follow-on, really, because if South Africa get to the follow-on, then the win is a long way away. Australia would then have to either declare on 0 for 0 and take a big risk, or bat on and lose the chance. to actually have enough overs to bowl him out. So Josh Hazlewood comes out, and we were sitting around waiting for a day and a half for play to start. He's been sitting around for 3 test matches waiting to get fit to bowl, and he was sensational. The first 2 overs, he bowls at least one literally unplayable ball to Elgar that pitches so full that it shouldn't be able to beat anything, but it jags so far off the seam it beats the edge and the off stump. He gets Elgar squared up 3 times in the first over, edges one off the shoulder of the bat through fourth slip for a boundary. Total luck that everyone was in the cordon and that was the only gap. And then in the third over that Hazlewood bowls, he gets him edging to slip. Steve Smith diving away, one-hander, seems to cling on to it, but the replays come in. And I will say this. The 2 catches that went to the third umpire, had I been a third umpire, I would have said both of them were out. I would have said they've taken that catch well enough. There might be a bit of ground touching the ball at some point, but that's not what has helped them take the catch. They've already completed the catch. They've already got control of the ball with the hand. Richard Kettlebrook took a different view, but he was consistent in doing so. So after having ruled out the first catch, the Labuschagne catch when Australia were batting, that Simon Harmer took at first slip, he also ruled out this catch on the same basis.
Oh, it's all about consistency. And also, sorry, I was also, just because he said if I was third umpire, I was imagining your voice if you were the third umpire and doing a DRS. It would have been quite funny, especially if I was the on-field umpire and you were the third umpire. We would have had some interesting conversations. A DRS review would have gone on for a while.
Yeah, we just end up chatting about something else.
Yeah, Jeff, while you wait for ball tracking, you know what I just heard from Manas?
Remember Iqbal Qasim?
Iqbal Siddiqui. Iqbal Siddiqui, our man.
Yeah, your fave.
Oh, yeah, we need to do him on story time someday. But yeah, you're right. It's all about consistency, umpiring. Whether it's a wide in wide ball cricket, whether it's an offside wide, if you've decided that the bowler has this amount of or this margin for error in one innings, you have to stick to it in the second innings. You can change for the next game, but not within the match. That's the golden rule of umpiring. Whatever you are, you have to be consistent. The act of catching it is where, and the camera zooms in and it pauses, is where the doubt creeps in of whether the ball made contact with grass or not. So he was consistent. He was not convinced he could give it out. He didn't give it out. So that's perfect. Great umpiring.
So can I ask you about the law? Because I think, I was critical of both of these decisions. I think if I were umpiring, I would have given them both out. But when I actually look at the law, I think he's technically, by the letter of the law, he's correct. Because the law says that to take a catch, you have to have all of the things that qualify, as in having control of the ball in your body, and you have to do all of those things without the ball touching the ground. And it specifically says that. And I think the way that we interpret it generally is that, like, say this is the ball. If you've caught it and you're holding it firmly in your hand and a bit of the ball touches the ground but it doesn't actually help you take the catch, then we tend to regard that as a fair catch, right? You've got it in your hand, and if there's incidental contact with the ground, then if the ground's not helping you complete the catch, that's not a problem. But that's not actually what the law says. A strict interpretation of the law would say that if there's any contact with the ground whatsoever, it's not out. And so on reading that, I thought, well, that's not the interpretation that most people go with. But it is correct. Is that how you would see it?
Absolutely. And laws of the game are all about interpretation. Different umpires interpret laws differently, but it's very simple. A clean catch is when the only things involved are your hand and the ball, or a part of your body. It doesn't always need to be your hand, as we well know. But yeah, even a blade of grass touching the ball before you've completely taken the catch and you've rolled over and it's deemed out, is not out. That's just what the law states, and that thing is quite sacrosanct. I don't think you can mess with that aspect of the law, even however you interpret it.
Okay. So Hazlewood disappointed there, but he gets Elgar with the bouncer, gloves it. Carey takes a catch over his head. And then Lyon gets the Irvia dismissal where, Usman Khawaja 2016 style, he just leaves an off-break, left-hander, off-spinner, round the wicket, angling it in at the stumps. It does turn, but it doesn't turn enough to beat off-stump. Bowls him. There's a little bit of a wait for the next for that wicket, which comes in the 18th over. But Sarah Irvia again makes 18, gets out, does exactly the sort of thing that he's been doing, and then Cummins. The spell that he bowled several spells, but there's the one where he gets Heinrich Klaasen gloving a ball, but it wasn't just a sort of long hop delivery. It was a nasty short ball that he really fended away. And then there's the partnership between Zondo and Bavuma, where they go after Nathan Lyon. They each hit him for a couple of sixes. They take on the short ball. They put on 48 together either side of the break. But when Cummins gets going after that again, that's the spell. That's when he really looks lethal. He comes around the wicket to the right-handers. He's bouncing Zondo. Then he gets the full one that slips through him. Hazelwood's got the little outside edge from Bavuma before that. So Bavuma's made 35. Zondo's made 39. They've both made starts. They've both sort of shown some level of being able to cope with it. But when the quality of the fast bowling really cranks up, they can't cope with it. So Cummins with that from around the wicket as a right armour to get a leg before wicket, the only way you can do it is to hit him on the shoe, and that's exactly what he did. That one was out, and then he follows up with his third wicket as well.
Look, there are some times when fast bowling is pawn, like last year when Mitchell Starc bowled that late spell at the MCG to the English and knocked 3 over. But there are some times when fast bowling is art, like pure art, and that's what we saw today. It looked like you had an artist at work, because like you said, there was literally one spot on the pitch where Pat Cummins could have landed the ball to get a wicket from that angle, and he nailed it. And Josh Hazelwood just said in the press conference, Josh Hazelwood had bowled a similar delivery to Kane Williamson a few years ago. Apparently they had a little discussion, and Pat Cummins said, "Should I go for it?" Hazelwood said, "Yeah," and Hazelwood was like, "He just absolutely nailed it." That is the magic of Pat Cummins at times. You can get impressed by so many aspects of his cricket, but at the end of the day, and he put on a masterclass of captaincy in these conditions today, but it came down to that spell. It was just magical bowling, and the way he set Zondo up and got him out, he should have got Marco Jansen out. The ball just pitched just a little more than half pitched outside leg stump, and then he stuck to around the wicket to Kyle Verena. And then suddenly comes over the wicket, where you think that, oh wait, he's having such success in troubling them from around the wicket, but no, like by then the feet are jelly for Kyle Verena and Marco Jansen. Goes over the wicket, 3 deliveries, all 3 different angles of release, but by then the footwork is non-existent for Kyle Verena. He just gets one uses the angle slightly wide of the crease, just goes slightly towards Kyle Verena, pitches on a length and just straightens. Doesn't do anything extravagant. Straightens enough to get Kyle Verena caught at slip. Perfect bowling. But I did ask Zondo what it was like to face that spell, reverse swing, and not a lot of reverse swing, a little bit of reverse swing. And Pat Cummins, he just said, "Well, it was dark." Thanks, Kyle. And that's why I added it to our 30-second intro as well to the show. That's what he said. I said, but yeah, it was tough. And his answer was, it was dark, and Cummins doesn't bowl slow, does he? It's like, all right, that's a great answer.
Well, yeah, it's been darker out there over the course of this test match, put it that way. So there are 149 on the board, 6 wickets down. What that means is, they're still a long way from the follow-on. Australia need 14 wickets tomorrow. They need 4 of them before the next 120-odd runs have been scored. So if Marco Jansen can dig in, Simon Harmer looked okay for those 6 overs. If they could get to the follow-on mark, then they'd make life really difficult for Australia, because they'd have to decide to bat again for like 5 or 10 overs and smash a few, or they would have to just declare 0 for 0 and, set South Africa 180 or something, which would be a risky kind of declaration. But the way the South Africans are battered today, I don't know. What do you think? How do you see it going?
No, I think I've been very impressed with how Simon Harmer has started. And again, tells you not just with his bowling, with his batting as well. He should have played earlier in the series. If not at the Gabba, then definitely at the MCG. He's shown so much more grit, because he came out to bat when Australia had created a cauldron. They were on the hunt. They saw this big prey in Marco Jansen, and they wanted to knock the other end out, or open it up at the other end. But he his defensive play was really good, and that wonderful flick of the pads of Josh Hazelwood. And he also, another thing he did, of the fifth ball of the last over, Nako Janssen had been troubled by pace. He'd handled Lyon really well. If you noticed, he pushed the ball towards point. Janssen wanted the single, but Harmer, being the senior partner or the senior member of the side, he just said, no. You stay there. I'll handle the last ball, and he did. So if Harmer can push this through, even if it's just time, even if they don't get to the follow-on, if they can bat as close to lunch as possible, even this South African batting lineup, you would pack them to survive for 2 sessions. But the best way to do it is also to maybe keep scoring some runs and put pressure on Australia, because that follow-on almost becomes a deciding score. If they get to the follow-on, then they really negate Australia's chances of winning this test, because Australia, don't forget, they won the series, and they don't want to risk losing this with keeping in mind the World Test Championship final. There's no point being that brave. That's pretty much how I see playing out, but I do think that we'll lose 4 wickets. They'll lose 4 wickets in the first 40 minutes, and South Africa will get bowled out.
Hall of Fame, the most final word moment of the day for Woodstock Cricket. Woodstockcricket.co.uk. Best cricket bats in the world. TFW20 for 20% off. Put that code in. Now, I thought there were a couple of Ashton Agar moments. I mean, for me, it's almost been Hall of Fame worthy picking Ashton Agar as a specialist bowler out of when you have 4 specialist bowlers, and he's one of them, and he's barely bowled in first-class cricket for years. But there was one delivery that he bowled that took off, that bounced about 8 feet high from a full length and turned. And there was, I mean, you forget what he brings to the team as a fielder. This spectacular almost catch at short mid-wicket, slogged over the top, like going back to a short ball from line, bashed away, and he flew, and he got his fingers up, and he just tipped it over the bar, but very nearly an extraordinary catch. So, I mean, it was just nice to see Agar back in the Test side. He was someone who, you know, I mean, I was at his debut in 2013, and we thought he could have been anything at that point, and it has happened in white ball cricket. It hasn't happened in Test cricket, but you know, maybe there's another chapter in the Ashton Agar story.
For me, this happened yesterday, but I still think it counts, is the batting consultant of the South African team, Justin Salmons. The first thing that impressed me about him was his wonderful, lush beard, like thick beard, beautiful beard. Then we rock up at the SCG for the practice session. The beard's gone. I thought it was a different guy. He's still a good-looking guy, but I thought he was better looking with the beard. So when he did the
almost everybody is.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So when I saw him at the press conference yesterday, I just had to ask him. I said, "What happened to the beard?" He's like, "Oh, no." So he said he started growing it in England, and then ever since, South Africa stopped reaching 200, so they get to 200 in the second innings at the MCG, and I think he decided maybe it's time. Maybe it's the beard. Like, a batting team cannot be so bad. So, especially as a batting consultant, I think he took the responsibility on himself to shave off his beard and hoping for a change. Based on what we've seen so far, 6 for 149, Justin Salmons. Not only did you look better with the beard, but you just given up your beard for nothing.
Well, South African batters haven't survived many close shaves. Yes. Right, that's it. That's it for us for the Final Word Daily. We'll be back on day 5 to see what happens in this Test match. If you like what we're doing, patreon.com/thefinalword. That's how you help us keep making the show. That's how you help Bharat keep buying these wonderful cardigans. That's it. Jeff Lemon, Bharat Sundaresan. See you next time.